Hello and welcome to IMDB's Worst 100.
Today we're looking at number 93. It's Pat.
Oh, it's Pat, all right. Well, let's just not waste any time. Let's just get straight into this, shall we?
Get this one out of the way.
So, it's Pat. I've got the great task of explaining the plot this week, and
I'm so pleased.
the thing I'm going to have to say straight off the bat is that It's Pat does not have a plot.
No.
So this plot thing is going to be pretty short. It has some subplots that you might normally have accompanying an actual plot, but it doesn't actually have a plot. So I'm just going to explain the sort of random subplots that just happen as best I can. So we've got our character, Pat, who is a person of indeterminate gender. Is Pat a man or a woman? Nobody knows, but apparently everybody cares for some reason. Pat is living in an apartment building. Some new people move in next door.
I'm Chris. Hi, and this is Pat. Pat lives across the way from you in 2B.
2B or not to be, that is my apartment.
The husband becomes incredibly obsessed by Pat because he wants to know whether Pat's a man or a woman, and this sort of manifests into this weird obsession where he basically starts stalking Pat and he starts dressing up as Pat, and it gets pretty weird. And he steals Pat's diary so that he can try and find out whether Pat's a man or a woman.
Clark.
Access denied.
I will know your secrets, my love.
But ultimately, he never finds out.
And I read every word.
Oh, I feel so naked.
And you know what? You didn't tell me diddly.
That's that subplot. Then we've also got the fact that Pat, for some reason, can't keep a job, and that reason is probably because Pat's just pretty horrible. Pat keeps getting fired from every job. Pat becomes a tuba player for a band.
So mommy, if you please pass me the ball.
And then Pat becomes a radio show host for a sort of agony aunt radio show where people call in and Pat gives them terrible advice.
I've contracted a horrible disease and I've been told I don't have much time to live. What should I do?
Why don't you just call 1-800-wah-wah-wah, wah-wah. All right, next call.
And then there's also a romance subplot where Pat meets another person who's also androgynous, you don't know whether they're a man or a woman, called Chris, and they get engaged, but then they break up because Pat's not taking their relationship serious enough. And then they get back together in a kind of sort of Ross-Rachel run-after thing. And I think they end the film getting married.
This is my other half, and together we make a whole. I finally found a yin to go with my yang. Or is that yang to go with my yin? Well, in any case, I'm so lucky to be me.
That's It's Pat. There's nothing else to really...
Yeah.
There's no story, is there?
No.
So.
No.
You know what I hate? Are bad, boring movies.
Me too.
Seeing as It's Pat's a comedy, did any of the jokes make you laugh?
No, I was mostly cringing. There was one bit where I think I just kind of lost the plot. It was when Pat's stalker was sort of in his room and he had this weird little Pat puppet. I was slightly, I think at that point, just delirious and was laughing quite a lot.
Quite funny that you point that out, because I remember that as the one bit that I thought was funny.
I know that. Thank you.
I mean, what did you think of the humour generally?
The humour wasn't humour at all. It was really just childish, horrible stuff.
Yeah.
That wasn't humour. And I noticed in one bit, just even like comical timing was all off. There was a bit where Pat woke up in the morning. You knew that Pat's diary was going to be gone, but they played the sound while it was looking at Pat's face when it should have been looking at where the diary had been placed.
No! My laptop!
That obviously didn't help, but I mean, it wouldn't, if that had been right, I still wouldn't have laughed.
I'd say it was kind of that humour that actually really gets under your skin. Jokes that you're are clearly supposed to be jokes, but just aren't funny at all.
It's toe curlingly bad. Did you give a shit about anything in this film?
No, it was a really tough watch. The whole film is based off this central concept. Pat is a man or a woman you don't know, and isn't that funny? And, you know, if you're not on board with that, there's really nothing for you in this film.
I think the biggest problem is that the film actually assumed we cared if Pat was a man or a woman.
Yeah.
What we want to know is, are you a brother or a sister?
I didn't care. I didn't want to know, and I'm glad I didn't find out.
And you know why that is? It's because, okay, we're watching the film. You know, the whole idea of this is we're not talking while we're watching it because we want to sort of save the conversation for the camera. Anyway, we're watching this film, and Emma just leans over to me and goes, "You know what the thing is? Pat's a right." And that was probably like the perfect summing up of the main problem of this film.
Hey, dudes, any of you guys steal anything lately?
Pat is annoying, horrible, obnoxious, and it's bizarre. You really got to make the Pat character sympathetic for it to work at all.
Yeah, that's it. You weren't rooting for Pat. Not that there's anything to even root for, because it didn't even have a goal or a purpose, this film. Pat was just no character arc or anything. The worst thing was they were very obnoxious and rude to everyone, so rude. You just, within the first couple of minutes, you think, I don't care about you, you're horrible, and really annoying. What was with that?
It's like they didn't want you to like them.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, what were you supposed to be invested in if you don't like Pat? Because there's nothing else, there's no story.
Yeah.
Sure you do, Mr. Looney Tunes. Adios.
What did you think of the subtle nuance of the gender politics in It's Pat?
I don't think there was anything subtle about it particularly. It was just weird how everyone was just so obsessed with finding out if Pat was a man or a woman. You know, they tried to make a bit of a freak show out of Pat quite a lot through the film. In the way, you know, that man took that video of Pat and took it to the TV show and it got on telly and everyone was like literally a freak show.
Welcome back to America's Creepiest People, the show that allows us to feel a little bit better about ourselves by giving us the opportunity to laugh at those who are less fortunate.
It doesn't sit well. You know, and nobody in the It's Pat universe, if you can call it that, none of them think that there could be anything except a man or a woman.
Yeah.
Which I think is strange. The film is not that old, is it? From the 90s.
Yeah.
At no point does anyone say, is Pat transgender?
Yeah.
You know, or anything like that. It's just like, is Pat a man or a woman? Those are the two things you can be.
Yeah. As well as they assume that Pat's straight.
Yeah.
Because Pat gets with Chris and, you know, when they're having their engagement party, everyone's sort of like, which one's the man, which one's the woman.
Yeah.
So they are assuming they're a straight couple. You know, Pat could be gay.
Yeah.
Doesn't cross anyone's mind.
And what was with, Pat was basically just wearing a horrible shirt with a pillow down it. It looked like Pat had a pillow down the top. That's all it looked like to me.
I thought Chris was a better design. You know.
I don't know.
What did you think of the supporting cast?
There's not really much to the supporting cast. I did like Kyle. He became really obsessed with Pat. You know, I think he was one of the only people in the film that was really having fun with the role.
We're in. We're in.
It's a shame that his bits didn't really go anywhere. There's also Chris. Chris was a more sympathetic character than Pat.
I think I would have liked Chris to have been the main character. I think, just wasn't a complete asshole.
Yeah, it would have still been a bad film, but it would have been a little bit more watchable.
I really didn't want them to get back together at the end. I wanted Chris to get the hell away from Pat, because I feel like Chris deserved more.
I just couldn't even get invested in Chris, and I think it's just because Pat was so annoying.
Pat, you are impossible to deal with when you're like this. You're like a child.
Pat pushed me out of the film.
Kicked you out, probably more like.
Yeah.
Shot you out.
Doing a middle finger.
Yeah.
Okay. I kept laughing before I even asked the question. If you had to make a film about the character Pat, how would you make the film? Like, what would it be about, and how would you make it a good film?
Wait, so Pat is who, you know, the
So
character
the SNL
is the same.
sketch character Pat.
How would I do it right? I don't think there's anything to make a film out of it, though. It's just a stupid sketch. What a horrible question. I don't know.
Why did they make this into a film?
The sketch was just about a joke, whether Pat's a man or a woman, but that's not even funny for like 2 minutes.
I mean, it's a pretty thin concept just for a repeated sketch.
That's the thing, is I don't think there's much more to Pat, so it's sort of hard to say how you'd actually make a film, like a good film out of it, because all Pat's character is, and this shouldn't be a character trait, is Pat a man or a woman? That's not a character, is it? That's just a stupid joke. I think a good film with Pat in would be Pat goes on a boat on their own and just sails away into the distance, never to come back. That would be a good way for Pat to go.
How about, right, it opens up and you got Pat and everyone's like, is Pat a man or a woman? And then it turns out Pat is an alien and Pat's there to conquer planet Earth. And it's, at that point, it's just basically the storyline of Men in Black 2. Or is it Men in Black 1, which is the one with the bugs?
1.
And then he's like got the human skin. There, see? We're
You're
much
just
better.
saying that, you know, androgynous people are actually aliens.
No, but Pat could have been.
It would have been quite funny if the opening of the film was Pat pulling down their trousers and then there's just whatever.
Well, immediately you find out. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the mystery is sort of solved immediately. Yeah. And then the rest of the film is...
Pat has to go to an asteroid which is about to hit Earth. So Pat gets in a rocket with Bruce Willis to go blow up the asteroid before it hits Earth.
Okay.
Let's put this in a bit of context. For me, It's Pat is the worst film we've seen so far.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that something has managed to beat Date Movie so soon to that prize.
I think, Pat was boring. I mean, Date Movie was crap, but, you know, it wasn't as boring as this. It had no point, absolutely no point. This was just a long sketch of something that wasn't funny in the first place. If anyone watched that who liked the sketch, it probably completely ruined it for them.
Yeah, and anyone who didn't would hate it as well. It's hard to see any audience responding well to Pat.
And it is, as we said, because Pat is an arsehole. So...
Was that the word you used?
Pat's a right.
Well, that was It's Pat. We're coming to the end of the 90s now, and it's already getting almost unbearably bad. I'm genuinely scared where this list is going to take us next.
I'm excited.
Well, on that note of both fear and excitement, we'll leave you until next time. Thank you very much for watching.
Thanks. Bye. Oh yeah, you can subscribe if you like.